everyone, it's DD Fenrir here again, and welcome to part 2 of the Refining Your Technique Spitfire tutorial. The eagle-eyed amongst you might notice I'm not in a Spitfire, and quite right you are. However, there are certain things that I need to demonstrate to you that the Spitfire doesn't do, before I tell you why it doesn't do them, things it does do and why it does them. But I need a comparison aircraft, and the Mustang in this particular instance is an excellent choice, because first off I'm going to be talking about the adverse yaw characteristics of the Spit, and in keeping with the previous video where we looked at the elevator control, we're going to be looking today at aileron and rudder, since they're both very closely related. Then this is the perfect opportunity to show you those two control surfaces, how they're interlinked, how they work together, and also what you can expect from the Spit. But first off, I need to show you what not to expect from the Spit, and as I say, this Mustang is the perfect foil for that particular thing. So, adverse yaw, and let's get going. Here's our Mustang, we're trimmed out reasonably well. Let's just have a quick look at the ball down there. Yeah, another click maybe of right rudder just to get us nice and centered. We're cruising along at 39 inches of manifold pressure, and let's get that back to about 2700 RPM. So it's a fair old clip. It's a little bit below our max continuous, but that'll do for now. Now, what I need to demonstrate is adverse yaw. What is adverse yaw, I hear you cry? Well, basically it's all in the name. It's yaw, which of course is our left and right rotation around the normal axis, the vertical kind of invisible axis that runs through the aircraft, and our nose moving left and right around that. That's our yaw control, of course. Now, adverse yaw is what happens when you roll in one direction but the nose moves the opposite direction. Let's roll to the left now, trim the Mustang out again, and see what happens. I'm going to use no rudder input whatsoever. I want to watch the turn and slip indicator, watch the ball, and also watch what happens to the nose as we roll to the left. So here we go, rolling left. It's a bit difficult to see on the nose itself, but you see that the slip indicator has moved to the left. Now, for those who don't know, your foot should follow the ball. So if the ball moves left, you need to put left rudder in. Let's roll it out right. Okay. Let's go to the right. There you go, and we see the slip ball going. Okay, these are fairly gentle manoeuvres on the rolling plane. Let's try something a little bit more aggressive. So stick hard. I saw the slip meter really go there, and again to the... What this means is that as our wing comes up, for some reason the nose is kicking to the right a little bit, and as we roll to the left, the nose, sorry, the right, as we roll to the right, the nose kicks to the left. Why is this happening? And this is the adverse yaw we're talking about. So as the wing comes up, the wing actually moves backwards slightly. This is due to adverse yaw. This is caused by differential lift. It's caused by induced drag. And induced drag is the drag that is generated just by the act of generating lift. Okay. So what's happening is, as we're lifting a wing, that's the left wing, as we're lifting that wing, we're generating more lift on this wing than we are on this wing, but the byproduct of that is we're generating more drag. Ergo, it's pulling back on this wing, and that wing's moving forward. It's generating less or no lift whatsoever. So what do we need to do? Well, in Mustang in particular, what you have to do is center the slip ball again, is as we roll into turns we need to coordinate with the rudder, and that's a little bit twitchy there. I also need to work on some of my The rudder curves a little bit, making it a little bit better, but you get the idea. So stick goes right, rudder goes right. Not too much rudder there, but as we settle into the turn, a little less. There we go. So in order to fly coordinated, we'll generate less drag on the airframe, fly a bit cleaner, also raise our stall speed a little bit. We need to coordinate the rudder movements between it and the aileron, just to make sure that the aircraft is balanced and in control. And as you can see, I'm not using max deflection there, but you do get significant nose change in nose directional trim with the aileron input. Spit's a little bit different. Let's go have a look at the Spitfire, shall we? Okay. Moment she loads. Hey, okay. Some textures obviously need to load in. There we go. Okay. Let's get her settled down. More trim required. Let's come back to 2650 RPM and £7 boost. That's our max continuous setting, so gives us a bit of oomph for manoeuvring, but we shouldn't overheat the engine unless we're very hand-fisted. So let's try and get it leveled out. A bit more trim, a bit more trim, a bit more trim. Yeah. Okay, so well, first off, let's have a look at our actual the turn and slip indicator is a bit different in the Spit. Where we have the turn needle and the slip ball in the Mustang, we actually have two needles, and they're the other way around. So in this occasion, the slip meter is at the top of this particular instrument here, and it's a needle rather than a ball. So, but the basic principle stands the same. If it's going one way or the other, you need to follow it with the rudder. So if I cut the throttle, so no, it tends to move to the left because the torque forces have lessened, so I need to stand on left rudder to try and center the needle. As I power up, needle moves right, so I need to stand on right rudder to try and center the needle. Okay, so let's come back to £7 boost. Okay, so let's watch. I'm going to do a 180 course change here, and just so we get the sunlight reflecting on it. It's a little bit darker in the Spitfire cockpit. Come around. There we go. Okay. Right, so let's get it trimmed out. Need a click of left rudder end to get trimmed. Now watch what happens when I do some gradual rolls. So let's roll to the right. Okay, so perhaps some very slight movement there, but not a huge amount. Whereas the Mustang, it was quite noticeable, significant, arguably, but this is a far more subtle adverse yaw effect. It's an airplane, it's got ailerons, we still suffer from induced drag, so the upgoing wing will generate more drag than the downgoing wing, and thus cause adverse yaw, but what's different? Well, the primary difference in the Spitfire is we have freeze ailerons, that's F-R-I-S-E. I can't tell you much about the chap who designed them, I assume that's who they're named after, but I can tell you that on the downgoing wing, so in this case swing here. As the aileron is lifted, it actually pushes the nose into the airflow. Same on this side. This creates drag. So we're generating drag on the turn, the wing on the inside of the turn, at the same time as drag is being generated by the induced lift, on the induced drag on the wing on the outside of the turn, thus helping to balance out the adverse yaw effect. Now, this works up to a certain degree, so small course changes, small roll movements, you don't really need any rudder input. But if we go for something a little bit more vigorous, shall we say, so let's trim her out there, and let's do a full aileron roll to the left, so over we go. As you can see, there the needle starts pinging a bit, and as we come round, there's various gravitational effects of being knife edged and inverted and then back round to the other side. So bear this in mind when you're doing gentle manoeuvres, coming in for, perhaps you're lining up on your landing roll. You don't really need to use a lot of rudder, and as most of you will have discovered, the rudder is quite sensitive in this bit. Small movements give you a lot of authority, so it's very easy to over control the rudder on final approach, or during those regimes of flight where you perhaps want a little more subtlety. So just if you're making corrections, you can afford to do little roll corrections and not have to worry about correcting or coordinating the roll too much. However, if you're doing very large displacements, dogfight, you're going to want to try and get those forces balanced. It takes a little practice, but it will also help quicken your roll rate slightly. If you get them nice and coordinated, you'll lose less speed as you make your manoeuvres, but you will also find the manoeuvres a little more crisp. And timing the release of the rudder input as well will be helpful. So sometimes it's beneficial just to go up, practice a few sharp S turns, try and get it into your muscle memory of how to make large displacement rolls, and try and keep the needle as centered as possible whilst doing so. There you go. Quick, short lesson on the sort of ailerons and the rudder effect for flying the Spitfire. I hope it helps you guys, and next time we'll be looking at engine management, prop pitch and throttle, and some of the nuances involved with that. Take it easy guys, and happy flying. Bye.